Welcome back to the Show Me Show podcast for episode 61. I want to say shout out Rodney Hudson. I think he was 61. Can't confirm that. But episode 61, today we have two segments as well as some NBA talk and most importantly some Cardinals corner and some Cardinals talk. To take you through about, I think, the past 2.5 series since last episode. The Cardinals are actually starting to turn it around a little bit, right on time. But we're going to actually start out with some NBA talk as me and Luke are actually watching Game 2 Western Conference Finals right now. Lakers 7 seed up 47-36 over Denver in Denver right now. But we're going to talk about Game 1 here to start. And Luke, Jokic is the best player in the world.
Yeah. I've been on this train for a long time now that Jokic is the best player in the league. He should have won the MVP this year. I said that multiple times. He's the MVP, but they gave it to Embiid instead. And I think we are finally recognizing now that Jokic is better than Embiid. So, what was his stat line? It was like 36 points, 22 rebounds, 15 assists. There goes the.
All right, we're back.
Are we recording right now?
Okay. I think it's back on. Okay. After first technical difficulty of the night, we'll see how many more we encounter. The internet has been in and out lately, because Charter has been working on it throughout the week. So it has been quite rough. So we'll see how that goes the rest of the show. But Jokic, like 34, 22, and I think 13 or something like that. Last game. But he threw in 34, but he still makes more of an impact, I think, as a passer. He is the best passer, I think, in the NBA, which is crazy.
I think I described him as a point guard that's also 7 foot and really fat and can dunk the ball with efficiency. He shoots the ball with efficiency and dunks it.
He just lays it in, yeah.
Yeah. He's literally just a very big, unathletic point guard, which is something that the NBA has never seen before, I don't think. I think maybe the closest thing to that would be LeBron, but he is very athletic. But he's also big, but he can facilitate like a point guard too, but not at the same level as Jokic. He is a, what do you call a white, what's the term? White whale in the NBA right now, I guess, with the way that he plays. And he is, if they win, it's going to be because of him. He is probably the best player in the NBA, I would say. I don't know if I can name a player that's better than him.
So. No, I think he is the greatest player in the world. I think, right now it's like probably like Jokic, and this may come with some asterisks, but Giannis I think is honestly right there. I think he just dominates too much on offense, and he's such a good defensive player. And then I'd probably, maybe throw Embiid somewhere in the top 5, and I'd probably have Curry in my top 5 too. And then I don't know. It's hard to say because like Anthony Davis on his best nights are insane. LeBron is still top 10 on his when he's on. So
you gotta put a guy like Jason Tatum in there.
No, yeah, I do. I would. I'd probably put him like either 5 or like 6, because we'll talk about him here in a moment when we talk about the Heat versus Celtics. But yeah, and just with the Nuggets, their offense it was the best in the league this year, and it has been really unstoppable in this playoffs up until about the fourth quarter of Game 1 in this Lakers series. But they didn't miss a shot pretty much in Game 1 until about the fourth quarter. And he just airballed a 3. But Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was pretty lights out in Game 1 for the Nuggets. and the Lakers were getting blown out. That's important to point out. They were down by like 20, which, you know, you can call it a blowout. College basketball, that's a severe blowout. In the NBA, you can come back from 20 all the time. That's just how the NBA is.
Unless it's like late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
You can definitely do that.
And the Lakers did just that. They stormed back, and they almost took one from Denver. And like I just said, that it felt like they may have figured out how to defend the Nuggets at the end of the fourth quarter. Hasn't completely carried over right now, but they are winning 49-48, 2 minutes left until halftime. So
I think the most important note was that the fact that the Nuggets played so good. They played nearly perfect basketball. They fell off a little bit in the fourth quarter, but they were so good offensively, and the Lakers still only lost by 6 points. The fact that Jokic had that stat line that he did, and the Nuggets only lost by 6 points, really is just a good sign for the Lakers to know that, you know what, they can play in this series. They can win some games. And, you know, if luck goes on their side, they can win the series ultimately, which would be incredible. Just to think about where they were a few months ago. I mean, literally at the All-Star break 3 months ago, they were 13th in the league. People are like, oh, they're going to miss the playoffs again. They make some trades at the deadline, and then boom, you know, they're right back in the mix now in the Western Conference Finals, hoping to go to the NBA Finals. This is just what LeBron teams do. I mean, I don't want to make it all about LeBron, but he's done it countless times before, where he takes a really bad team and all the way to the finals. Doesn't always win, but to the finals quite often.
Yeah. And one thing to point out, and this is just facts, and me and Luke are both LeBron lovers, but I mean, the whole series runs through AD. It's however Anthony Davis goes, that's how the Lakers go. It doesn't mean he has to score 40 like he did in game one but it mostly, you know, if he puts in like 15 or more, but has like 20 plus rebounds, they're usually pretty set. They got out rebounded pretty damn hard in game one by the Nuggets, but yeah, I mean, they just have the pieces, like Luke said, that they surrounded themselves with at the towards the trade deadline, as Rui just threw down a sick lob. And Rui was one of them. They got D'Lo back for a second stint with the Lakers. Shout out Nick Young. You know, Dennis Schroeder has been really, really solid.
Joe Vanderbilt at the deadline.
Vandy has been really good, defensively, that is. And Reeves is a budding star. So, I mean, he's
been there, but
he was already there. He's one of my favorite players to watch because he's old school in terms of just how sound he is with his dribbling mechanics and using his body to create space and put up shots. He's one of my favorite guards probably to watch. Hillbilly Kobe. But yeah, it's still LeBron's team, you know, at the end of the day. He's still the leader. And he had a tremendous game 6 against the Warriors, 30 points once again for him in the playoffs. But yeah, we're excited for this series. I think I did call this one, didn't I? I think I did predict.
You did say that,
Denver and LA. I think I did end up picking Denver to win this series. So I hope I'm wrong there.
I remember I criticized you. I was like, you can't have the Lakers go all the way to the conference finals and then lose, which that could happen now. But I called a Celtics Nuggets title game, and that's still on the table. So we are just nailing these predictions despite not watching any regular season basketball this year.
Pretty much. Well, actually, shout out to us. We did watch the night LeBron broke the scoring record. So
that's true.
Shout out to us.
Yeah, and I watched the playing games, but
exactly,
which technically aren't regular season games, but they're not playoffs
they're
either.
Non-regular season games. That's what they're listed as.
Yeah, the stats from those games just don't exist in the NBA history books, like at all. It's very weird. You want to talk some Celtics?
Yes,
Celtics. Yeah, we go Heat Celtics, but we can even back it up a little bit farther. The Sixers Celtics Game 7 took place. That was after we recorded last week. And the Sixers just had a complete meltdown in the third quarter. the Celtics just turned into basically the Warriors. Jason Tatum was hitting everything from downtown. Marcus Fart was hitting a bunch of threes. Jaylen Brown was getting in on the action. Al Horford. They clicked on all cylinders. Jason Tatum broke the record for most points in a game 7. And the Celtics advanced pretty handedly. So they are. I would say they're probably the favorite to win the title right now.
Yeah,
Maybe the Nuggets, but I would
I
put the
think it was.
Celtics.
I think Nuggets and Lakers had pretty similar odds. But yeah, I think Game 5 and 7, or Game 6 and 7 took place since we last recorded, and in both games, James Harden, he's the one that showed up instead of Harden, and it was really tough. I honestly wanted to see the Sixers advance. I did, even though Celtics Lakers NBA Finals would be nostalgia out the wazoo and would be tremendous. But yeah, I was kind of hoping for 76ers and whoever, Nuggets, but most I would rather have the Lakers. But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think the Heat advanced too after we recorded, which they had a very low scoring game 6. I think, and we were talking, and we are like, man, this is like a college basketball atmosphere, the way that they're just missing shots, which was interesting. Jalen Brunson, what a playoff run. I think we can almost clap it up for him because of how good he played in this playoff run. But unfortunately, not enough for the Knicks. But they did win a playoff series for the first time in forever. I can't remember the last time that happened. So shout out to them. And that leads us to the Heat versus the Celtics, a rematch of last year's conference finals. And who would have thought that it would have taken place again this year? Certainly not me. But I am on the Heat culture. Eric Spoelstra, Jimmy Butler, I should say. They take game 1 in Boston, despite being down by double digits at halftime. It's almost inspiring watching the Heat play. That's the only way I can put it. It's inspiring.
Yeah, because, and we're just going to talk about this now. Every time I watch them in the playoffs, I'm still in awe because they have some guys running around on the court that you're just like, how is this roster this deep into the playoffs? And it's no offense to those guys, but like the likes of Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, and Max Strus, when those guys are like literally your best role players, because obviously the two big guys are it's Butler and Adebayo, and Lowry played good in game 1 too, but it's Butler and Adebayo. But I mean, we just got to talk about here the Celtics. We talked about how they had an incredible game 7 third quarter. The Heat had an unreal third quarter the other night. They had 46 points in the third quarter. The Strus was loose. Max Strus was hitting all kinds of threes. The whole team really was. They had an unbelievable shooting performance. Jimmy Butler had 35 once again. He was just a cold-blooded killer. There was the meme going around that he is like Michael Jordan at TD Garden, versus the Celtics. And another thing to point out, Luke, is this is the same exact Final Four from the bubble. So this kind of makes the bubble canon. It was already canon to us, but to the naysayers that say the bubble was fake, this is literally the same finals, same types of players. Literally, the teams really have not changed up that much. The 4 big stars from those conference finals are the same stars in these series now.
Yeah,
So
I would say, if you had to name the top 2 players on every team, it would be Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. That's the same. Jimmy Butler, and I don't know who would be the number 2. Maybe Tyler Hero.
I think it was still Bam back then.
Bam could have been. Maybe Duncan Robinson. I know he was good back then too. And they're all 4 of them are still on the team. And then the Western Conference, it was Jokic and Murray. And even Michael Porter Jr. is now, he was still on the team, but he's like the 3rd star on their team now. And then LeBron and AD, it's the exact same star players. So, I still want to put an asterisk by it just because it wasn't a bubble with no fans, but as far as was it fake? No, it was definitely not fake. And we're seeing that play out right now. with these four teams coming back just a simple 3 years later, in the exact same way. I mean, people were talking about the bubble Heat. I think they were the 5 seed. They went on a pretty good run. They were the 8 seed this year. They were even worse, and they went on a run with fans in the stands, with different, traveling back and forth, not just in Orlando. So I think that's just what the Heat do. I don't think it had anything to do with the bubble. I think that's just kind of what they do. And yeah, I mean, we said it was wide open at the beginning of the playoffs, and here we are.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. They kind of remind me, the Miami Heat kind of remind me of like some of the older Syracuse basketball teams because like all they have to do is get in, and like we just said, they're literally the 8 seed this year, upset the Bucks. We've talked about that before. Literally, all they have to do is get in, and then they just kind of make noise. Syracuse always known for being like low seed. They made the Final Four one year as a 11 seed,
And as a 10 seed.
and as a 10 seed. So like kind of just like that. So yeah, and we've talked about this. I think last week too. This has really been a great NBA playoffs. I have not watched a lick of hockey really, and that is just because these playoffs has been terrific. So haven't really had to split time between the NHLs and no Blues.
Yeah. Also, the NHL play, the Final Four left in the NBA is so much better than the Final Four left in the NHL. I mean, it's literally an 8 seed from Florida. What the hell is that? Carolina Hurricanes, which might be the most relevant team, and that's saying something. And then Dallas Stars. I feel like they're just mid. And then the Golden Knights, which actually I take that back. The Golden Knights they're a cool team to be there. Vegas, they're new. They're the 1 seed. So Vegas probably deserves to be there. But the other 4 teams is just kind of like, So
Yeah, I've got a lot of buddies online that are huge Carolina Hurricane fans, obviously, but yeah, I was hoping that Oilers would, upset the Knights, but it just wasn't meant to be. The Stars are literally always damn good. They're literally always this far into the playoffs. It seems like every single time. So
kind of an underrated franchise. I
they
feel like
really
they're not
are,
talked about
but
enough.
they don't go over. They can never win the cup. So I'm not a Dallas Star fan, but I would not hate it if they won it this year. I'll be honest. So, yeah,
I'm probably on the Golden Knights train.
Yeah,
I'll go against you just because they got some good, fun players on their team, including former Blues captain Alex Pietrangelo, and they're a new team. They've never won before. It was kind of a shame that the Kraken lost in Game 7, though, because that would have been fun to see Vegas and Seattle go up against each other in the Western Conference Finals. Just a few years after being introduced into the league. So, but that's what they do. The evolution of the league. That's hockey talk too. I remember last episode we said we were going to stop talking about hockey.
that's hockey talk.
Yeah.
One last thing I wanted to bring up from the Heat-Celtics is, and why I still kind of have Tatum on the outside looking in of my top 5 in the league, even though he just dropped 51 in Game 7 the other night. So maybe I'm the dumb one, but he had 3 turnovers in the span of about 1 minute down the stretch last night in the clutch for the Celtics. I mean, literally 3 turnovers in a row. I think he had 2 travels, and did he just throw the other one away? I can't remember.
I wasn't watching. I was at the Cardinal game, but
yeah, that is right. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, that was a rough look for Jason Tatum. I mean, he literally is their best player, one of the best players in the NBA, and he turned it over 3 times in like a minute. And the Heat were able to put in a few buckets and just secure it. So, yeah, sweet queen. All right.
Yeah, I mean, just one last thing on the NBA is that the NBA is like regarded as the one sport that the top teams always kind of win. Like in the MLB, we've seen countless wild cards go on and win the World Series. The NHL is famous for a lot of huge upsets in the playoffs. Even the NFL, the last few years, we've seen some lower seeds go on, but in the NBA, it's always like the top seeds. Maybe this is the league like evolving to chaos, just kind of like all the other leagues have for the playoffs. So I think that would honestly help the NBA, but
yeah,
it is interesting.
the one thing about the NBA, and it's kind of like we talked about the West, as long as you were able to get into the Western Conference playoffs, you could make noise. I mean, those top 8 Western Conference teams, I mean, they were all good enough to do some damage, except maybe the Timberwolves. They weren't that great, but that's why they were the 8 seed. But I mean, the thing about the NBA is that it is so star driven, NFL, I mean, you can say the quarterback position like Mahomes. I mean, because like if you have Mahomes, you're good, you're set. But like,
You're always going to be in it.
but like even hockey, even like when you have a McDavid or whatever, or back in the day a Crosby and a Kane or whatever, but it's just not the same as the NBA. It's so much more star driven. And I think that's why you do see like kind of in the NBA, like the top heavy teams, they get to the finals because it's star driven. And also it's a best of 7. It's not one and done like the NFL and wild card situations in baseball. And another thing, just in the NFL, and we were just talking about this with the Heat. The NFL is a big just get to the dance kind of situation because it's one football game and anything can happen in just one football game. So it's a big, it's one game. In the NBA, 7 games. And even in the MLB, it seems like, we always do have random winners. But once you get to like best of like 5 and 7 series, usually the better team, it seems like they usually win. But yeah, this has just been a great NBA playoffs. So
I've been entertained by him, so that's all I can ask for as a casual fan. All right, do you have anything else on the playoffs, or do you want to get the tough scene of the week?
Well, just one thing, rattle off these NBA coach firings. Monty Williams, Phoenix Suns, they parted ways. I think the only way to look at that is, he won Coach of the Year, I think, last year. But they haven't gotten back to the finals since the Bucks series. And it's not like they're going to get rid of Booker or Kevin Durant. So they had to cut some weight somewhere, make some kind of change to appease the fans. And it looks like Monty Williams is out the door.
I actually hated that firing. I think that's going to backfire on him
because
he was a really good coach, and he got him to the second round for 2 years in a row. And if we remember, the Suns were dog shit for years. Like it was like the Sixers on steroids. And they went to the finals. They had the best record last year. They had a terrible meltdown in Game 7, though. But we won't. We'll avoid that.
Shout out Hookah.
Shout out Chris Paul for hitting a huge 3 to cut the lead to 42 in that game as well. And this year they ran into a tough buzzsaw on the Nuggets. So I think that I don't think it was necessary. I think if it happened again next year, maybe it was the move, but I think they jumped the gun on that a little bit too early, in my opinion. But this next one, I think it's probably the right move.
Yeah, me too. Doc Rivers and the 76ers have parted ways as well. Yeah, I mean, they had to. It wasn't working. It's like the Sixers are at the spot where they are what they are. They get to the second round, and that's it. They just can't seem to get over the hump, if you will. And Doc Rivers has been a part of that. He has 10 Game 7 losses, most in NBA history, and I think he is. Oh man, what was the stat, Luke? He was like, was it like 17 and 33 in go-ahead games to win the series?
I think it was like 9 and 20 in elimination games.
Yeah,
or
but
clinching games.
Clinching games. So like when you're up 3-2 or up 3-3 or 3-1, his record in those games are awful.
3-3.
So and this was another year where he blew a 3-2 lead. Just add another one to I got one more in me, shout out Vince Carter. So
yeah, I don't know if Doc is going to get another job.
I think he can because he can rebuild organizations, but he doesn't win them ships, So
yeah, he definitely has a resume, but he's also had a great career. He's kind of old, so I could see him just riding off into the sunset. Monty Williams is going to get another job. And that could very well be with the Sixers. The Nick Nurse, he's another one that got fired. He'll get another job. Mike Budenholzer, he might take a year off, but he'll probably get another job in the future. So some of these coaches, like that got fired this year, it just really shows like you got to win. You got to win. Like losing is not accepted in the NBA. It's actually like made fun of in the NBA if you lose. So, um,
Yeah.
more than other sports, I feel like anyway.
I think, is it just Nick Nurse? For some reason, he feels like he would be a great college coach too. I don't know what that is, but
I get you, now that you say that, yeah.
it's just, I don't know about Bud, but like Nick Nurse, I just feel like he'd be like a stud Big East
I can tell you
college
why
coach.
because he's a tactical guy that likes playing. He likes playing defense, and that plays in the NBA. Like all the top coaches, they play defense. They're tactical guys. Like Mike Budenholzer, he's more of like he can manage stars. Like in NBA, you don't have to be as much of a tactical coach because these guys are the top
Yeah,
basketball
it's
players in the
Star
world.
we were
Yeah,
talking about.
you really just have to manage your stars. If you can manage your stars, um, set your lineups good and control the locker room. I mean, that's really all it takes in the NBA. And obviously, you have to have some basketball knowledge, but like Mike Malone, he's not a tactical guy, but look how good the Nuggets are. So, um, I guess that's yeah, that's Monty Williams is going to be a huge hire. Also, I didn't know that the Rockets hired Ime Udoka. That's a fantastic hire. They've had some weird hires the last few years. Just people I don't know if they're trying to win or if they're just hiring them to be like, we're going to fire you in a few years, kind of like the Texans do. Yeah, I guess it's just a Houston thing to do, but yeah, Ime Udoka, I feel like it kind of like D'Amico Ryans. It's like the hire that's there to stay in Houston for a while for the rebuild, for the up and up. And also, kind of on that note with the Rockets and 76ers, James Harden he's a Rocket, right? He's going back to Houston. He elected free agency.
I don't know. He said he wanted to go somewhere where he can compete, and that's not exactly the definition of the Rockets right now. So, I think he wants a ship before he retires, and I don't blame him. I mean, he's obviously not going to be the lead guy anywhere anymore, but I think it'd be interesting to see him in Phoenix. Honestly, I think that would be interesting. I think I don't know how much longer Drew Holiday is going to play, so maybe I mean he's going to play next year, but he's already talked about retirement soon. So I mean, Harden to the Bucks, that would be interesting.
That would be
Um,
interesting.
I'm trying to think of a couple more that
I think as long as he goes
guards.
somewhere that, yeah, kind of needs a guard, but doesn't need like a guy to step up in big moments. Like you may hate this one, but the Celtics and Philly fans would absolutely hate that too if Harden went to the Celtics. But that would be honestly probably a perfect spot because they got Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum that can step up in the big
Yeah,
moments, and he can just kind of sit back and
he might
facilitate,
be. Yeah, he
step up
might
when he needs to.
be a guy like if he was to go there, which I think that one's probably the stretch of the ones that we just said. Because there's only one ball, but he could easily go into the game and just play minutes when Jaylen Brown and Tatum aren't in the game. That would be sick for them. I mean that would be incredible to have like Tatum and Brown they're catching their breath right now, but we still have James Harden out there. That'd be pretty nuts. So yeah, but we'll see
Yeah,
with him.
let's see, maybe a spot like the Clippers. I don't know if that dynamic would work
Yeah,
with
I don't
Paul
know.
George, but
Paul and yeah, I don't know because I mean it's so hard with the Clippers. They're so irrelevant too because like they're good, but Kawhi never plays, so you don't really know. Like nobody
also,
really wants to watch them because Kawhi doesn't even play.
yeah,
It's
and
so
if
weird.
he wants to win a championship, that is not a good spot to go either. So they've never even made an NBA Finals. So uh, I don't think the Nuggets have made an NBA Finals either, have they? This could be their first one if they make
Yeah,
it.
I don't think they ever made it with
Okay.
Carmelo or AI. So no,
Yeah, I think that's right because I saw a stat. It was like the there's like 6 teams to never go to the NBA Finals, and it's like the Nuggets, the Clippers, the Grizzlies, the Hornets. I think are in there,
yeah, I
and
think they're because they're pretty new too.
yeah,
I don't know if
who's
the
one?
Pelicans have ever been there.
Pelicans haven't. That was the other one too. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
That
I
was
think
that
that's
was all
it.
of them. So yeah, interesting stat there.
All
And
right.
that's NBA talk.
That was good. That's one of the longest NBA talk we've had this year.
I mean, we're getting into the end of it. So we're getting into the deep talk, and when we record next week, it'll be we might know the finals.
Maybe.
Probably not.
I hope not, honestly, in terms of I just want the games to still be going on. That'd be a longer series. Unless the Lakers, just clean house and take over. But
see, the Lakers would be through game 3's on Saturday, Monday. So they'd be through 5 games. So probably not.
they'd have to win 4-1. So
that's not gonna happen.
Nope.
Tough scene of the week.
All right. Here we go. Tough scene of the week. My first tough scene of the week is Luke's outfit to the Cardinal game last night. And this is one
shooting it.
That's really it's really not that funny, but for some reason this just had me over the moon last night when I saw this picture of Luke driving back from the Cardinal game. Red hat, white jersey, and the reddest shorts you've ever seen in your entire life. And it's
just a normal outfit. It's a white Cardinals jersey with the Cardinals hat. The red shorts is the only thing that's different. I mean, it's red shorts. It's the Cardinals. It's not that crazy. It's not that outlandish.
It was just funny because it was just like a classic Luke ball game fit, but it was also just like a fit that you see maybe some slightly overweight dads that wear backwards hats bringing their kids to the game. They've had a few too many beers and they're walking out and stuff like that. And I don't know, it was just a very funny picture of Luke driving in the car.
I guess what we're trying to say is
white jersey, red hat. Just a classic Luke fit.
Like an assistant coach's outfit almost. With the jersey and the red shorts.
An assistant coach going to the Cardinal game.
Yeah. That's with their 5-year-old kid.
Yeah. It was they're trying to give the 5-year-old kid, have a great time at the Cardinal game, and I'm sure their 5-year-old kid would also be wearing that outfit, if that makes sense. So,
I'll put the photo in the YouTube. So so watch the YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube for that picture, and then we might have a Twitter debate on it, whether it's a tough scene or not. The outfit. So
it was great. I'll just say that.
Solid.
My next one is on Wednesday, Sonic was doing 99-cent corn dogs. And if you know anything about Sonic, they actually used to do 50-cent corn dogs. But we found this out on Tuesday night. And me and Colin, our buddy Colin, we found out that they were doing 99-cent corn dog night at Sonic. And we were just elated, over the moon, planning to go to Sonic on Wednesday. And just like that, we forgot. So no Sonic 99-cent corn dogs. That was a big miss on our part, an all-time miss on Sonic, the 99-cent corn dog. So that was a tough scene, realizing that today. My next one, and this will take us back into the NBA for a split second. The Detroit Pistons draft spot. This was a major tough scene, Luke. They were tied for first at 14% to land the number one pick, which would be Wemby. They were tied with San Antonio and the Rockets. And they fell all the way to the 5th pick, outside of the main lottery, the top 4. So, obviously, San Antonio got the number one pick. I think the Trailblazers, they get the 3rd pick.
Yeah, Hornets got the 2. Rockets dropped all the way down to 4.
Yeah, that's tough for them too. But Pistons, I mean, they suck, and that was a tough scene. So yeah,
I think this is a kind of similar. They rigged it 100%. I mean, they don't anymore. They don't do the lottery ball machine on TV. Like in the 90s, they used to do that,
and they so should, because it's so sick.
But whenever they stop doing it, they 100% rig the draft. They would be stupid not to rig the draft. I guess is what I'm saying. I mean, when you have a team like the Spurs sitting right there, And then you have teams like the Hornets. No offense to the Hornets fans or anything, because I know you know a lot of them, but the Hornets, the Pistons, the Rockets, those are all just terrible franchises. They're in shambles. They're really not even like on the upswing. You can maybe say the Rockets are, because they do have some young pieces. They get a good coach, but the other two are absolutely not. The Wizards, all these teams are just bad. And then the Spurs, they got Greg. They got a great fan base. They got the winning organization. Perfect spot for Wembanyama to go and develop actually a little bit and play well. So, they rigged that 100%. But tough scene for Detroit. But honestly, that's what they get for never stopping the tank.
Because that is such a great point by Luke. The forever tank, it can't work out for you. Just can't do that. I think this is one of Luke's best points. This is what you get for the forever tank if you're the Pistons. And also, it's Detroit. It's like this is not like a. Like I kind of saw this tough scene coming. If that makes any sense. Like can't have shit in Detroit, So, yeah, that was. It was funny though. I was laughing on the couch pretty hysterically when they showed the 5th pick goes to Detroit. I don't. That maybe that's kind of sick to laugh at that, but it was funny.
I think it's just kind of sick that you're even watching the draft lottery. I mean, to begin with,
well,
I was doing it. Game. Yeah, I was doing it too. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, just sitting there. It's honestly kind of sicko that they make like people go to the draft lottery, and the funniest part is when it's an actual player. Like, I know the Pacers sent Tyrese Halliburton. The Pacers had no shot at getting the number 1 pick, but they're like, hey, Tyrese, can you just fly to New York and just sit there? And it's the weirdest thing. It's got to be so awkward for some of the players. I know there was a few other players that went.
Yeah, I know like David Terry went and stuff like that, but the funniest part is literally the first pick that they announced when they're like, all right, who's getting the 14th pick? And it was the Pelicans guy. And they introduced like all the people at all the tables for all the teams before they did the lottery. And I think he was just like some VP of operations.
No, that was Dave Griffin. He's their main president.
Their main president?
Yeah, because he was for the Zion draft. He was the guy there too.
But it was just so funny. Like they introduced him and then they introduced the 14th pick and it's just the Pelicans and they just flash over to him. The camera, he's just like, are you serious? I came all the way out here for us to get the 14th pick. It's so degrading. And also, I think I think it probably is somewhat rigged. Maybe. I'm not sure. But if it was true rigged, I feel like they would have sent him to Chicago. That's just me. Like
that would have been too obvious.
Too obvious.
I think. Yeah. I mean, they made the play-in. That would have been way too obvious of it. I know they had like a 3% chance or something. That would have been ridiculous. And just quit rewarding the Chicago teams, please. I mean, they all suck and they're being rewarded for it, and I hate it. So I'm glad.
Well, that's not how draft works. But when you suck, you need the draft to get better.
I guess that's true, but I still kind of have a soft spot in my heart for San Antonio because whenever I was like in middle school, I didn't have an NBA team, and that's when the Spurs were like really good, and I was like, I'll just be a Spurs fan. It was so bandwagon. But I never really like truly liked them. It was just like, oh, that's what I'll tell people. I really am. If you ask me, it's probably a Heat, just because I've fallen in love with them. I love Jimmy Butler, love Tyler Hero. But the Spurs do kind of have a soft spot because I did root for them for a number of years, like with the LaMarcus Aldridge years. So it is cool to see that. I know a lot of their fan base. They're very passionate about basketball there. So it's very cool to see that.
Yeah. I remember when I first met you and like where we first started becoming like friends, you told me you were a San Antonio fan. And that kind of irked me because I never liked them when I first like started watching basketball for real. And that was just because the Heat always had to play them in the finals. And I was even back then just a super LeBron follower, super LeBron fan. So like I was not a San Antonio fan back then. Still, I mean, I like Pop. I respect Pop a lot. So
well, how could you not?
Yeah, I mean, he's the GOAT probably, besides maybe Phil. So yeah, all right. What else we got here?
I think it's just mine left.
All right, yeah.
All right, I got two tough scenes. The first one is Yesterday morning, I went golfing for the first time of the summer. I think I'm going to start getting into golf. It's very fun to play, certainly, especially when you got your pals going. I played 9 holes, but the only thing is, I don't have golf clubs, so I'm using my dad's old golf clubs, like the ones that he used when he was in college. So they're old as shit, and they got to be at least like 30 years old. I'm thinking, but they still work. I mean, they're fine. Here we go. We're lining up on hole 18, last hole of the day. I'm doing pretty bad because I don't golf ever. So I actually it wasn't as bad as I was thinking. I was pretty happy with my score, but if you looked at the scorecard, it was very bad. Here we go. We're lining up for the drive. I hit it directly into the woods, so it's like, all right, I'm going to take another. I hadn't used my mulligan yet, so I used my mulligan. Set it down on the tee, line up, everything. I smack it, a loud crack just echoes, and I just see the head of my golf club just flying into the brush like 15 yards ahead of me. And I'm just staring in disbelief. I look over at my buddy Morgan, who I'm golfing with. He's keeled over laughing. And I'm looking at my golf club, and yeah, the driver head is just gone. It's in the poison ivy bushes, and not to mention the ball also goes in the woods. So I've lost back-to-back balls and a club head. Luckily, it was the last hole, so I didn't need the driver the rest of the time. But it was a very weird experience. Just feeling like the weight shift on like the backswing back was very weird. So just snapped clean off. I mean, it didn't have anything to do for me like slamming it into the ground or anything. It was literally just on a hit. Just went to hit the golf ball on the drive, and it just snapped right off. Probably just from years and years of hitting the golf club. And then to add insult to injury, later that night after I got back from the Cardinal game, my the golf bag, the old one, is sitting in the garage. It's been sitting there all day. I got back from golfing at 11:30, and this is at 10:30 at night. And I'm sitting on the couch with my dad after I get back from the Cardinal game, just kind of talking about the Cardinals, how they were doing, how the game went because it was pretty awesome. We won, shut them out, and then we just hear this loud bang come from the garage, and I kind of look at him, and he didn't think much of it. He's just looking at his phone. And then I remember the golf clubs are out there. I was like, that kind of sounded like golf clubs. I better go check on that. And I go out there, and the golf club bag is tipped over, and the broken stick from the driver is still in the bag because I didn't know what to do with it. And I look, it had fallen right on my dad's new truck that he got like a month ago and just scratched the shit out of the fender. And I'm just staring there in disbelief. Like, do I tell him? Because I was like, I have to tell him because this is obviously noticeable. Yeah, so he goes out there, checks it out. He's pretty pissed. I'm just in disbelief. And so not only am I down a driver, but now I also have to pay to repair my dad's fender. So this is it's just an ultra tough scene. Yeah, that was the exact quote from my dad too. It was yeah, just a very, very tough scene. Lost a driver head, lost multiple golf balls, and then proceeded just out of the blue. I mean, I don't even know what happened. The golf club bag sat there all day, and then just out of the blue, just completely fell over and scratched up my dad's new truck. So, very tough scene for me personally. Oh man, you just can't explain stuff like that sometimes.
And I was picturing Morgan keeling over and laughing. I could picture Morgan that so well. That
His
is
silent
so
laugh,
good.
his no
So
noise laugh.
good.
He just like opens his mouth and like, but he doesn't make any noise when he. Yeah, that's exactly what he was doing. Tough scene for sure. So now I'm probably just gonna end up getting a new set of golf clubs because like I said, I'm gonna get into golfing, and I have.
It's not a bad investment if you're going to actually do it. You know,
It's an expensive investment because not only do you have to pay for the clubs, and then you got to pay $30 to golf. So it's an expensive hobby, but it is fun. And God, but at least I have to at least get a new driver. So I'm planning to go this weekend again. So I was planning on using my dad's driver, but that after what just happened, that may be off the table. So, yeah. And then my other tough scene Move on. John Morant. I know you kind of have this on your kiss goodbye, but this is different. John Morant's new nickname. So Kwame Brown the other day, perfect analogy. He said, John Morant, I don't know if he knows who NBA Youngboy is, the rapper, but John Morant, he's NBA Dumb Boy. So if we don't know, we'll get into it a little bit later, but he got caught again with a gun after going to months of therapy, issuing an apology with ChatGPT, by the way. That could also be a tough scene for John Morant. He got caught with a gun on Instagram Live again for like a second. It wasn't even that long, but still enough to get caught. Adam Silver went on after the draft lottery, was very pissed at him, and then obviously Kwame Brown was like, "Yeah, he NBA dumb boy. He grew up in a we talked about this before, in a fine household, married parents, good neighborhood, but yet he's trying to get street cred for some weird reason. I feel like if you just say you're in the NBA, you have street cred." Especially if you play for like a team like Memphis. But he sometimes I just think he's dumb boy. He's stupid. Yeah, he's not a bad person. He's just dumb. That was a perfect nickname for him. Kind of like Spencer Den Shitty. When I forget who said that to him.
That one was pretty mean. Spencer Din Shitty. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that was mean. But the NBA dumb boy, that's gonna stick. I hope everyone realizes that. That's gonna stick.
NBA Dumbboy is objectively funny as hell. I'm not gonna. It is so funny. Yeah, we'll talk about Ja in a few minutes here as well. Again, but yeah, one thing I will say, kind of just maybe make you feel a little bit better. I should have talked about this last week, but I guess it's been close to 2 weeks now. Me and my dad were sitting in the kitchen doing stuff for school, and I leaned back in one of our dining room table chairs, and it just snapped. So the back leg completely snapped, and I just fell onto the floor, hit my back pretty hard. And my dad just looked at me as we were on the computer. He just looked at me, and he just could not. I could not believe it either. That the chair just broke from right under my own ass. So that was a big shock. And then the even bigger shock, which is the tough scene, was going online and seeing how much one table chair was for that dining room table. It was like $120. So
thanks a lot, Joe Biden.
Yeah, so that really sucked. But I also could not stop laughing at that. And when that happens, shit like that is just so funny. So yeah, that happened a couple weekends ago.
I didn't laugh. I'll tell you that. I didn't laugh. No,
the truck thing is not that funny because that's just tough. That is brand new. But the chair was funny as hell. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but now, we're in debt now, and we're also broke. So
we are college kids. So
we do appreciate donations. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want no handouts, like the one guy from All American would always say. God, boy, that was a great tough scene second. You want to talk some Cardinals corner here? We skipped it last week.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't really much.
Did we skip it, or we just didn't do the rundown?
Well, there's no rundown anymore this week. I've been lazy with it, so I've gotten off my game a little bit. But we had a very positive week for Cardinals baseball. We took 2 out of 3 at Wrigley Field, and then we went to Fenway Park and swept the Red Sox, ending with a blowout on Sunday Night Baseball. And then we just took 2 out of 3 from Milwaukee at Busch. So it's been a really good week of baseball. I mean, what is that total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7-2 on the week against some really good teams. I mean, the Cubs they're kind of mid, but the Red Sox are a playoff team right now, and the Brewers are obviously in first place in the division. So, dare we say we're back? Dare we say it? The Cardinals are playing well.
I say it after every win, and I don't even watch. So,
we're currently in a battle with the Dodgers right now. We hit 4 home runs in 1 inning, went up 9-3, but then Freddie Freeman hit a grand slam. So, we're just leading by the skin of our teeth right now again. And so it was a good week. I'm trying to think of who probably would be the best player. Nolan Gorman is just he's just a monster, man. He is just so good. DeYoung has been playing awesome. This is something that I never thought would be sustainable because DeYoung has had good stretches before, good weeks. He's been up for almost a month now, and he has been really, really good. He's hit a lot of home runs, been pretty clutch. He's been getting on base, has a 900 plus OPS. Shout out to Young, man. He's been awesome. He hit a home run last night at the game. That was epic. He had a home run again tonight. And then also the return of Nolan Arenado. He is now homered in 6 of his last 7 games. The only game he didn't homer in was the one I went to, so I feel somewhat responsible for that in a way. But he did come about 4 feet away from it. He hit it just foul. He did hit it over the fence, but it was just foul. Very, very close. He is red hot right now. He is so back, and I think he's a huge reason why the Cardinals are doing good right now. Personally,
Yeah, I mean, for you to be back, you need your 2 best players, Paul and Nolan, to be hot as well. It sounds cliche, but it's true. I mean, they kind of light the fire for the rest of the team, and that's just kind of how sports are. So,
I mean, you're talking about Paul and Nolan being really good. It really helps when you have a secondary Paul and Nolan with Gorman and DeYoung going as well. So the Pauls and the
yeah.
Nolans are going.
Did Korea fix Paul DeYoung? People are asking.
He never went to Korea, unfortunately, but that would have been funny if he did. I don't know what fixed him.
People are asking.
I don't know what fixed him, but all I know is I love him having the success that he is right now. Even though he is kind of screwing up the dynamic of the team because we had Edman at short, Donovan at second most of the year, and now like he's at short. So now like Edman's been playing outfield. Edman has actually been playing pretty good too. He's been swinging the bat well. A little rough defensively, but he's been swinging the bat well. Our outfield is dead. Carlson dead. O'Neill dead. Yepes. I don't know what happened to him.
O'Neill bad. That's really
Juwan Walker.
Dad. You
not
could say
dead.
dad. No, you can say dad because he's in the minors pretty much.
Yeah,
he was up
he's been
in the majors, so I don't know what's happening. I know they sent him down to the minors, and then he just became worse in the minors than he was doing in the majors. So that was something.
Weird. Yeah. Very, very weird to see that. And
that could have been a confidence-driven thing.
Oh,
too,
yeah. I think that's what because he is starting to do better. If you look at his stats from the last week, he's hit a few home runs. His OPS is over 800, so he has had a good week. So maybe it's just the building up the confidence level, which I don't know why it would be down because I don't think it was his play that set him down. I think it was just his lack of at bats that he was getting.
I think confidence. The reason why he probably lost some confidence is he was up. They said once he's up, he's going to stay up, and then they sent him down, and then he struggled. So, I think that has a big deal to do with why he struggled when he got sent down because they were literally like, "You're going to stay up here," and then they sent him down. So that was a bullshit goaltend, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. That might have been on the down. We'll see on the replay here. That might be a block.
He's
freaking
up there. Holy moly, AD is up there.
His whole hand is like an inch above the rim.
That is.
He's 6'10" and can jump 40 inches. So
I think that's like the midway point. That's going to be hard to reverse if they try.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got some questions from the fans. We sent out Cardinals Corner. Actually, the pic of me and my outfit is on the Cardinals Corner thing. So if you want to go check that out, you can do that. So we have 2 questions. The first one is from Tom Haddocks, and he has a loaded question for us. It says, number 1, you get to have one current St. Louis Cardinal on your podcast. Who are you choosing and why? So one current Cardinal, I would assume that includes everyone who is on the active roster as well as on the injured list. I would include that in current Cardinals and probably even minor league players.
Okay. I don't think
maybe not minor league.
I don't know if he set too many boundaries there, but yeah,
he didn't set any boundaries.
No.
Just current. So I would say active roster and injured list players.
Okay, I think we have to agree on this. All right.
I don't know if we have to, but I will pick mine right now. I'm going to say Adam
Wayno?
Wainwright.
Wayno.
Yep.
That's what I was going to pick too, but
Yeah.
I with my second place would be Burleson. I want to know how fat he really is. That would be my leading question, and quite possibly my only question is how much do you truly weigh, Burleson? Because you are not 212. That is fake. I want you to. We have a scale upstairs. I want you to step on it. If I could have Nate Burleson on the, I just call him Nate.
Yeah, you did.
What's his real name?
Alec.
Alec Burleson. If I could have him on the podcast, I would, and we would probably just talk about his weight for like 25 minutes.
Which would be very mean. Like,
It would be.
welcome on the show. How much do you weigh, you fat ass?
How fat are you, really?
Yeah.
Give it to us straight.
And you know what? No matter what you say, we're still going to make you get on the scale. So that would be very mean to do. But Adam Wainwright would be probably the best. He's just his personality is awesome, and his experience in the big leagues, I think, would be very fun to talk about. As well as some of the stuff, as like being a leader in the clubhouse. We could talk about, I don't know, the phone burger that they have. We'll talk about that later, though, in the podcast. That would be certainly probably the best part. And just to talk about, because he's been in St. Louis for a long time and he grew up in Georgia. So to see like kind of the, how he's embraced the St. Louis culture would be very fun to ask about. Some other players that would be cool. Nolan Arenado, I feel like would be really cool. I feel like I would have a lot to talk about with him. Goldie obviously would be cool too.
Yeah, because those guys are probably future. It's so hard with the MLB who's going to actually be in the Hall of Fame, but
Arenado is well on his way, and Goldie after winning his MVP last year, I think
probably
cemented himself as a likely candidate.
So I mean, that would be cool because I don't, as good as Wayno's been, he probably won't get in, but
I don't know.
And if he does, it'll just take a while. He's not first ballot, so.
Yep.
But I think the consensus pick would be Wayno, with my second being Alec Burleson and Luke's second probably being Nolan.
Yeah. Although Goldie, I'd ask him about how being born on September 10th feels, because it's been pretty awesome for me. So I would ask him that. Some other players. Think briefly here. I don't know. New Bar would be fun to have on too. I would say that. Yeah, I feel like there would be a lot of things you could talk about with,
especially after the Japan World Baseball Classic.
We talk about Wayno having a great personality. Newpar has an amazing personality too, and just some of his experience that he's had, just in the big leagues so far and over there in Japan. There would just be so much to talk about with him. So, but if I could have one, I think we're agreeing on Wainwright. He would be the pick. Well, I like that question too. That was a great question. Number 2, why did Jose Oquendo never get a managerial shot with the Cardinals? Probably because he wasn't really a good manager. I don't think he'd be a good manager. He's a good coach. He's kind of like Willie McGee. Willie McGee is a really good coach at what he does. Willie McGee coaches the outfield really well. Jose Oquendo is an amazing infield coach. I really don't think it would translate that well to being a manager. Now, why didn't he have a shot? I wouldn't have hated, personally, him having a shot at least, like an interview with the Cardinals for the manager, but I think he's more of one of those guys, kind of like Ron Washington. Although he did have some good years managing, it wasn't like spectacular. He just had a really stacked team, Ron Washington. But he's more of like the guy where you think if he's just an infield coach, he can really make the infield a lot better. And I think that's kind of what Jose Oquendo is. He's a good guy to have around the clubhouse, but maybe not the type of guy you want leading your entire team. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, obviously that would still be an in-house hire, but I think maybe Marmol just was maybe closer to the team, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's, and maybe he was, at the bottom line is he probably was maybe just more ready. But yeah, it is interesting that they didn't even give him a sniff. Not really. Well, we don't know that for sure, but he could have been on their big board when they were evaluating that to start, but
he also may have not have wanted it, because I know he's not in coaching anymore at all right now. So he may just not have wanted it. So And then number 3, the final question from Tom Maddox. What moves do you think the Cardinals have to make in order to win the Central and compete for the NL pennant? I think you just got to start winning. Personally, I don't think there's a I don't think there's a lot of moves that you have to make.
I don't think so either. I think
To win the Central, I mean, this division's bad.
I mean, I feel like we sound like a broken record. I feel like maybe pitching. I think it's just pitching, and then get your outfield shit figured out, and then stop being bipolar about the catcher position. I think those are some moves that you make.
Yeah, the whole catching thing was really, really weird. Which we can talk about that a little bit here because we didn't talk about the Jack Flaherty outing against the Brewers. 7 innings, 10 strikeouts, no runs, with Wilson Contreras behind the plate. And I have a feeling, I think it's come out that Jack Flaherty is one of the main guys that actually prevented him from being. He said something about him, like the communication was really weird. So to see those two guys go out and do it against a first place team was very, very special. I loved it. I loved every moment of it. Um, it was really promising to see that out of Jack Flaherty because he's had a rough last few starts. So I was kind of starting to be like, this guy's got to start going here, or he may be, on the way out of the rotation. But that was definitely yep. This is Jack Flaherty start right here. So hopefully he can continue to build off that. Obviously he doesn't have to be that dominant every time, but just to continue to be solid and good like that. The catching thing was really weird. Yeah, pitching. I mean, our infield is it's probably the best infield in baseball, especially if you count Nolan Gorman as the second baseman. I mean, coming into the year with Goldschmidt and Arenado, people were already saying that was the best infield, but you add Nolan Gorman to that mix, and it's like, holy shit, like this infield is awesome. I mean, even better than the Braves. And we think of Matt Olson, Austin Riley, Ozzie Albies, some of those guys over there doing it. Cardinals are better than that in infield. The catcher position's fine. I think our bullpen is fine. We could use maybe another arm, but our bullpen's been pretty solid. The rotation has to get fixed. Guys got to start going, or changes got to be made because we got a 5 ERA. We brought up Matthew Liberatore yesterday. He had a fantastic outing at the game. But I don't know how long he's going to be up in the big leagues for. It might have just been a one and done type of start to give the starters an extra day of rest when we're going on these next few weeks without an off day. Pitching, yeah, like you said, pitching. That's
Yeah.
Was it one move that he said? Oh, what moves in general? Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like we're a broken record. It just feels like pitching. And then, but like we also just said, there's been some clubhouse issues that we've already talked about on this show. That doesn't give me I'm not running through a brick wall right now for Marble. If that makes any sense. So between that and figuring out the outfield a little bit, yeah, I think that's just what you got. It's mostly just comes down to pitching, though. I mean, that's just baseball, though. The offense is awesome. It has been. I mean, they've had some slumps, but that was like full team slumps. We're giving up a shitload of runs. Everybody's just kind of down in the baseball blue dumps. So, but they've come out of that recently, and they got to keep it going, obviously. But like we said, this is a very winnable pennant race. So, yeah.
I mean, what moves do you have to make to win the NL Central? I would say none. I think even with this pitching staff, as bad as they've been, I think you can win the Central with it, just because of how bad this division is. I mean, you think of the Reds; they're playing solid right now, but they're a bad team. The Pirates started off amazing, but they've won like 2 games in the month of May. They've fallen off a cliff. The Brewers are going to be the team to compete with. I think the Cubs might hang around, but I mean, can you really count them in to win the division? I know Jacob Baldwin picked them to win the division, but I think it was out of spite for the Cardinals and Brewers, personally. So I think you just got to start winning games. You got to hope the Brewers start losing a little bit because the Brewers are very lucky. But in order to compete, for the NL pennant, you definitely got to get a pitcher. I mean, guys like Shane Bieber might be available. Guys like Lucas Giolito might be available. I personally wouldn't be against a Joe Kelly, Lucas Giolito package from the White Sox at the deadline because they're probably going to sell both those guys. They're on the last year of their deals. Joe Kelly would be awesome to have back in a Cardinals uniform, throwing gas out of the bullpen. And another move, I think you got to bring up Guillermo Zuniga. He pitched 1 inning against the Angels a few weeks back, and he hasn't been up since. He is a flame-throwing right-handed guy that has nasty stuff. He should be in the bullpen right now. I don't understand why he's not. James Nail, I don't know why he's still up here. There's just some guys that I don't understand the move. Zuniga impressed me a lot. I don't understand why he's still in the minors. All right, that's that question. Those 3 questions, I guess, anyway. And then
Kind of
this
goes
one,
hand in hand with the next question, though, as well.
This is from actually my dad. He's been trying to ask this question for weeks. He just always forgets to look at Twitter and comment it on there. So he was very excited to get this one off today. Who do you think the starting 5 pitchers will be for the Cardinals come September? This could include trade deadline acquisitions, obviously. And as we speak, Wilson Contreras just hit his second 3-run homer of the game to break the game wide open, 13-8. Very positive. I love to see it. It's actually 14-8. I take that back. I misspoke. But yeah, who do you think will be the Cardinals starting 5 at the? I would say Adam Wainwright would still be in there. This is obviously not including injuries because you can't predict injuries. Yeah. You kind of can if you're like trying to pick Jacob deGrom, maybe Steven Matz. I don't think Matz will be in the rotation come September though. I think he might move to the bullpen. Adam Wainwright is obviously going to be in the rotation. Miles Michaelis is going to be in the rotation. Jordan Montgomery is going to be in the rotation.
Flaherty.
I know we just said we couldn't predict injuries, but
he kind of falls into that category.
He might be an injury candidate. I'll say Flaherty. Man, it's not Matz. It could be Liberatore.
What is the chances that we if we send him back down, that we bring him back up, Liberatore?
High.
Okay.
That's what I want to hear. You have an injury, he's the guy that's coming up.
That's what I want to hear. I honestly, I almost just want him up, to stay.
Just to see how he does. I mean, we gave up a bunch for him.
Yeah.
So why not just see what he has? He pitched good last night. The Jake Woodford experience at the beginning of the year was a very weird thing. Why we didn't go with Liberatore out of the gate. I mean, it might have been better, but the Jake Woodford thing was very weird to see that. I don't think we'll see him the rest of the year, personally. He might come out of the pen, but I don't think he'll start another game for us. I
think if we do a dream rotation, I think it would be, obviously a dream rotation that's somewhat realistic. It'd probably be
Ohtani in there.
Wainwright. I'm not saying that that's super ideal, no offense, but Wainwright, Michaelis, Montgomery, Flaherty, and like Bieber. That is like a dream kind of scenario, is that we acquire Shane Bieber. And that Flaherty also being in that dream rotation, that means that he's, 1, staying healthy, and 2, not shitting his pants. So that's part of the dream scenario if he's in the rotation in September. That would probably be our dream, but it's probably the latter that we already talked about will probably be it.
Yep, with Liberatore. I don't think we'll make a trade for Shane Bieber. That would be a blockbuster trade. I mean, you think about that's an ace. You're getting an ace with that guy, and he's got not just the rest of this year, but next year on his contract before he hits the big market. We'll probably get around $200 million, somewhere in that range. It would take a lot. I mean, it would take a few big prospects, big pitching prospects, maybe a guy like Edmund or Donovan that can, compete at the big league level. Cardinals fans they're not going to like Lucas Giolito. I think that would be kind of a perfect trade for us to get Giolito and Joe Kelly in a package from the White Sox. the White Sox are kind of stupid, so I feel like we could fleece them, if that makes sense. The Guardians, they're a little bit smarter. They know what they're doing a little bit. They can compete. The White Sox are just, I mean, Jerry Reinsdorf is an idiot. Their GM, who's been there forever, he hasn't won anything. So I feel like we could maybe catch them at the right point in time and get a little bit of a fleece. So Giolito and Joe Kelly, I feel like would not cost us that much at all. And would it really improve us? It might. We do have success with guys, getting traded over to the Cardinals and then succeeding, like Montgomery last year, John Lester the year before.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to wish away the summer, but I will be ready for let Mo cook season when it's time for the trade deadline. So
oh yeah, I mean, we think about the last 2 years, we've got John Lester, J.A. Happ, Jose Quintana, and Jordan Montgomery. And those are all left-handed pitchers, and most of them are veterans. Montgomery wasn't really a veteran, but the other three were veterans. So what are some old left-handed pitchers that we could acquire? The first one that pops into mind is a really old guy with Rich Hill. But I don't want Rich Hill. So I don't know. I don't know really who's on the market for left-handed pitchers, especially on teams that are going to be out of the playoff race. But we'll have to look when it gets closer.
It's kind of early right now. I mean, it's May 18th.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, we'll have to look when it gets closer for sure. We'll have Jake on the show for the trade deadline, probably.
I'm sure Jacob Michael Baldwin will have a full list.
Oh yeah,
in his head that's just
Nolan Gorman
bursting out the seams.
Nolan Gorman with a 2-run homer. So it's just Contreras has 2 home runs tonight.
What a fun game. Burleson scored. Shout out. Yeah. Fat ass Burleson.
Gorman with 2 home runs. I think he's up to 12 now. Holy shit. He's catching up there for the lead in the NL. And yeah, that's Cardinals corner. We talked about the Liberatore start.
Yeah.
Talked about the Flaherty start. Anything else that happened over the course of the last 2 weeks? We swept the Red Sox, obviously. Oh, the Kenley Jansen. We owned him. Back-to-back days, we came back in the 9th inning against the Red Sox on Friday and Saturday.
One thing I still noticed, I don't think we had our blue jerseys yet, do we? Our Carolina blue Cardinal jerseys pretty much on away Saturdays.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Were we wearing them?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, we've been playing every road Saturday. We play with them. So
yeah, but we just got them because earlier in the season we did not have them, and I remember I was up in arms about it. That is real.
I'm gonna need proof on that.
That is real. We actually talked about it on this show.
Really?
Yeah. They didn't have the jerseys hadn't come in yet.
They're blue. They're in now. So
okay, that's a check box for John.
Yeah, finally.
And Bill.
Yeah. Oh, another thing I just want to briefly talk about with the pitching. John Mozeliak is just openly lying to us right now, because he said in an interview today that we looked into signing some guys in the offseason, but they're all either hurt or doing bad right now. When in winter warmups, he literally said, we didn't really even explore the starting pitcher market. So he was just openly lying to us. He said they were going to increase payroll, so that's a little frustrating. I wouldn't really believe anything that Marmol or Mozeliak says. I'm just gonna go with the ride. But I think if we win tonight, which hopefully we do now that we have an 8-run lead going into the last inning, we'll be tied for 14th in the National League. So we're creeping our way out of the cellar. So that's good.
So bad still. We dug ourselves a deep hole.
A deep hole. That'll make it more fun to come back, though.
All right.
Yep. Cardinals Corner complete. You want to wrap up the show here with say hello, kiss, and goodbye?
I do. All right. My first say hello is, and this is kind of like a
right into the mic. I forgot to mute for that.
This is like a re-say hello because we knew this last year. But say hello to the NCAA football game officially being back next summer for the summer of 2024. I guess it'll be NCAA 25 because the national title will be 2025. It'll also be the first year of the new playoff format, which will be sick, by the way. double sick here, if you will. And it was also announced that official players will have their own names in the game, so it's not like the old NCAAs where it was just like QB 10 for Robert Griffin III or QB 2 for Cam Newton or wide receiver 15 Dorial Green Beckham, when he was on Mizzou and stuff like that. They're gonna have their real names. It'll be NIL deals through EA, and I wonder if they'll make a player union for stuff like that, because like how the NFL has like an NFLPA just for like Madden and stuff like that, or not just for Madden, but it's like one of the things that goes into it. So yeah, that'll be sweet.
I have a question. I'm just thinking of this now. Why did they stop making the game?
Because of the O'Bannon case. If you know anything about the O'Bannon case, which I guess we don't, because obviously otherwise why would you ask? But basically, it was a case that ruled in favor of athletes, pretty much saying that they should be allowed to make money off their name, which kind of was the first spark in NIL, even though NIL didn't come for about 7-8 years later in Congress in terms of getting passed, of them officially being able to make money off their name. But the O'Bannon case pretty much said, it ruled in favor of the athletes that like video games or companies, they can't use players' likeness to make money off of them. You just can't do that. So basically, they could have had an NCAA football game.
They just wouldn't have been able to use any of the players.
So like all the rosters, I guess they would have been completely randomized. You couldn't have anything look like anybody. So like if they tried to recreate like RG3 on Baylor, they couldn't do that. They would have to put like a white guy at quarterback, throwing left-handed. Like they couldn't have any likeness, and that pretty much shattered the game. And they pretty much just pulled the plug on it at that point.
Okay.
I think there was a couple other things that happened, but the O'Bannon case, if you ever want to look it up, was a big thing, and it's a big part of today's NIL and getting passed and stuff like that, but it was also a big part in taking away the NCAA franchise. So kind of a double-edged sword, it took away NCAA football for many, many years, but now players can make money off their own name. So kind of a double, one bad, one good, but now it's all coming full circle, because their players are going to be able to make a few bucks off of having their name in the game, which is going to be sick. So yeah, next summer we'll see that. Probably going to have to quit my job just so I can play that all the time. So yeah. My next scenario is to the Magnificent Seven. The Magnificent Seven is a newly formulated group of 7 ACC schools that are looking to try and get out or override their 13-year deal. That's how much longer is left on it, till 2036. Their TV deal with the ACC network and ESPN, and the profit sharing that is awfully set up so bad for the Magnificent Seven, which was just a funny name that they literally gave themselves their own name, the Magnificent Seven. But the schools include UNC, Virginia Tech, Virginia, Miami, North Carolina State, Florida State, and Clemson. Florida State and Clemson really being the true leaders in this one, because I think the way it's set up, they have a $240 million deal with the TV rights for ACC Network and ESPN. Like I said, it goes till 2036. And that is the lowest TV deal by $10 million behind the Pac-12. And you have to remember, Luke, the Big Ten and like SEC just recently signed like $2 billion and $1 billion deals with like CBS and ESPN respectively. So like they are $750 million behind the 8 ball. And so the Magnificent Seven is trying to see if they can get together and override this, or have a new contract negotiation with this. But all talks have completely stalled pretty much. So that's why the Magnificent Seven has been formed, and they're trying to get out of that contract. And that is just crazy to think about. 2036, that low of money compared to the SEC and Big Ten. I mean, no wonder that conference looks like it might just dissolve into thin air.
Yeah, no
And
kidding.
that's what the Magnificent Seven is kind of threatening. Um, so yeah, say hello to the Magnificent Seven. All right, I'll let you take over for say hello.
All right, I'm having since we had the internet issues. I'm using my hotspot right now, and I just reached 100% data, so I might be a little slow right now. Might be a little behind, but my first say hello is I'll start off with actually one that we already talked about. Victor Wembanyama in San Antonio. So we kind of already talked about that a little bit, but yeah, say hello to him. If you're a San Antonio fan, he's coming to you. I mean, we saw the reaction from the San Antonio guy at the lottery whenever it was announced that Charlotte got the number 2 pick. He like almost jumped out of his seat. He was so happy. Like, let's go, man. We got him. We got Victor. Um, One thing we didn't talk about that with the lottery, they flew Brian Windhorst over to France for like to ask Wembanyama like 2 questions in his house after the lottery, and he looked very fat. They bad angle of
I
him.
can't believe we almost just passed this up on the show. We had a note between us the other day. We're like, we got to talk about how fat Brian Windhorst looked in this 70-second interview in France with Wemby. Like Luke said, ESPN literally flew him out there for a 70-second interview with Wemby, and it was a really bad. The interview's not bad, really bad 70 seconds for Wendy, in terms of just how egregiously fat he looked on camera, taking up most of the screen, the rolls not looking good, face extra fat, just really bad, Luke. I mean,
It was like it reminds me of one of those angles we do like where we take the picture from like under the
yeah.
TV
Oh no, yeah.
because he looked ginormous. It was bad, but so say hello to Brian Windhorst being fat as well. I guess really just bad luck, bad job by
That's the main takeaway.
yeah.
Sorry, Wimpy.
Yeah. And then I also have say hello to the new NCAA game because I didn't read your say hellos. So I put that on there. But yeah, it's on there. And my last one, say hello to Caleb Love at Mizzou. This is very much back in the possibility. So Caleb Love entered the transfer portal from North Carolina a few weeks ago, but then he committed to Michigan. And then it came out yesterday that he decommitted from Michigan. And then it came out a few minutes later that he didn't actually decommit. He was basically just rejected because Michigan's standards of education it's not like not quite at the level of Stanford or Vanderbilt, but it's very high up there. It's a high prestige academic school, and he did not meet the requirements with his transfer credits. So they basically said you can't go here, which is it's a wild thing to do because you think of like Michigan's trying to compete for athletics, but they also have to like keep an academic standard because the Big Ten is it's an academic conference, and so it's back on the table that he could potentially go to Mizzou and the SEC is like anti academic conference.
Very laid back. They
Oh
will
yeah,
definitely take him at Mizzou
if
if in
you
terms of credits.
if you have a 2.0 GPA or higher, you're in. I mean, as long as you're passing your classes, you can play. Um, Cam did bring it up that maybe Mizzou might be out on him because
Yeah.
they have been recruiting other point guards in the transfer portal, but I still think they'll go back at him.
I do too. I think, but we were talking about Indiana before the podcast. I think Indiana's kind of out because they had to look at other spots or other players to kind of take Caleb's spot that if he would have gone there. And some other teams that me and Luke also talked about that have reportedly been well in on him. Illinois, which makes sense because he's from St. Louis, and then Memphis has been another one. But Mizzou is still kind of like in the crystal ball area for him. So I've come all the way back around. All the way back around. I was talking about this with my dad. I'm okay if he goes to Mizzou. The short time period that he was committed, air quotes, to Michigan, I kind of missed him a little bit. So and also, technically North Carolina is on the table as well, but that felt like a mutually parted ways situation. Otherwise, I feel like he still would be there. So probably
it was
not.
time for him to move on.
Yeah.
Realistically, the Lakers are kind of falling apart here. They had a chance there, and AD missed a wide open three that would have put it within 2 points. Now it's 7. So
yeah,
very big swing. That's my say hellos too.
All right, yeah. My first kiss up goodbye, because me and Luke are really organized, is kissing goodbye Caleb Love to Michigan, as we just talked about. But I wanted to sneak in here. So what happened was, instantly, and obviously this comes with it, but instantly since Caleb Love got rejected from Michigan due to transferable credits, reported by many, including John Fanta, the North Carolina had a big Fugazi, class scandal a few years ago with their football program, and when you have a scandal like that, it kind of just lingers throughout all your sports academic programs and stuff like that. So everybody was able to get their jokes off about Carolina having fake classes and stuff like that. So I had to get into the trenches, with the North Carolina State fans and the Duke fans. And I had to do some digging so I could dig back at them for, the North Carolina digs that they were doing. And I was able to find Zion Williamson's class schedule from his short semesterhood period while he was there. And I do have it on my phone, and I sent it to Luke, and Luke literally called bullshit immediately that it was fake.
I said that was fake, but it's very much real, and it's wild.
Here we go. Zion's schedule, I don't know if, I'm assuming this is probably his first semester, honestly. He probably took even less classes his second semester because he was just leaving for the draft after March Madness. Sexual pleasures of the modern world, his first class. History of hip-hop, the theater today, and copy of Writing 101, the Disney version. Your 4 classes for Zion Williamson during the semesterhood while he was at Duke.
Those are 4 classes that you do not have to show up for. That's what I heard. He pays someone to do the work for him and never shows up to class except for on test day. That's what I hear when I hear those 4. What was the first one? The sexual pleasures of the modern world. What the hell even they offer that? What is even included?
I mean, Duke is respectful. Duke is a great school, I'll say it, but that is a wild class to have offered.
Are they a horny school? Do they need to be bonked?
Honestly, I don't. I mean, they are the Devils, but I don't know if they're really a horned up school, to be honest. I feel like probably the most horned up school is either State or North Carolina, possibly Appalachian State as well. They're kind of horny, not gonna lie.
They're in the mountains. They're just
that's all they have, I guess.
Yeah, they just got each other.
So
the Mountaineers.
That's a nice little tangent. So yeah, I just thought I'd bring up Zion Williamson's class schedule since I had to get into the trenches, and also the fact that he lived in a sick ass house during his time there, including his parents got to live in a sweet house as well. Wonder how that happened. They just moved there during his time there. So
probably Coach K.
Yep, Lakers are pissing down their leg here.
Anthony Davis, why is he shooting threes with the game on the line?
I don't know. I think he's like 4 of 15 right now, so tough night for him.
I know with the one shot he was wide open. It sucks that he missed it, but that shot was awful. I don't know why he took that shot. That made no sense. And the Lakers are about to be in an 0-2 hole. Yep. And that's gonna be tough. But they are undefeated at home, so
yeah. We could tie it up easily. Next one, and like we said, that we were gonna come back to this one. Kissing goodbye, John Morant's gun sobriety streak. So he, as far as we knew, he was sober after his rehab for holding a gun. He went to rehab in Florida for holding a gun. He came back a new man. But his friends already have recorded him on Instagram Live holding a gun. So that streak is over. Immediately suspended by the Grizzlies. And his future is and that's why Kwame Brown deemed him NBA dumb boy, because he is set to make hundreds of millions of dollars, and he is jeopardizing it quite
Oh
quickly.
yeah,
So
I mean, yeah, the max deal, and I'm not sure that the Grizzlies are going to want to sign that.
yeah,
So, but it is the Memphis effect, like we said.
it is. I mean, I don't blame him for holding the gun. I really don't. In Memphis, I mean, Memphis is one of the most dangerous cities in the world. A nice little rival of St. Louis in terms of being one of the most deadliest cities in the world. But
Detroit, New Orleans, St. Louis, and Memphis,
yeah,
they're like constantly
yeah,
competing.
Baltimore, another really good one. Shit. God, LeBron just got blocked to all hell.
Cannot make a shot at all.
So
That he had LeBron had a great steal, and then he just missed the layup. That would have made it a 2-point game and kept them in it. All right. I only have one kiss of goodbye, and it is the Cardinals' bad streak. We have good times ahead of us, fellas. We're in the good times, good time period. April is over. We're about ready to go on a streak where we play the Reds for 4 games, the Guardians for 3 games, and the Royals for 2 games, and then the Pirates for 3 games after that. So we are about to have a lot of fun in St. Louis for baseball. Cardinals' bad streak, kiss of goodbye. It's done. I'm fully in on the season now until we get to the playoffs.
And we're back, pretty much.
We're back. Hashtag we're back. Yeah.
At 14th, but we're back.
Exactly. And that is the show.
That's the show.
Unless you got anything else you want to. All right.
That was a great show.
I loved it. Yeah, that was fun recording. There's some shows like where we just get done. I'm like, man, that one hit.
Yeah.
So this was one of them. Maybe not the top one, but
definitely that was still a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. It hit. So make sure to subscribe to the YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at Show Me Show Pod, and on the Instagram at Show Me Show Pod. Cam is on Instagram now, so make sure to follow him. The new Camden Millizer on Instagram. And we'll see you next week for the show, for episode 62. And everyone have a great week. This is never going to end, is it? God damn it. I clicked it. It's just the Wi-Fi. Which one's your Wi-Fi? Netgear 86. I got it. I'm going to connect to it real quick.